I will start my reading practice from the book Clear Thinking by Shane Paris. One day in my mid 20s, I found myself in my mentor's office. I had missed out on a promotion, the first one I had been up for and failed to get, and I was complaining to it about how unfair it was. Why is this happening to me? I remember saying, is someone trying to send me a message? I started talking trash about the person who had made the decision when my mentor cut me off. You are refusing to accept something that already happened, he said, and that's crazy. Crazy, I replied. Yet it's already happened. You can't argue with it. Listen, he continued. It really sucks. You are more than qualified, but you didn't get it. And there is a reason you didn't get it. The key here is to stop blaming others and take ownership. I let his point sink in. He was right. The world didn't just happen to me. I was not out to get me. It was not out to get me. I needed to look inside myself, honestly assess what I had contributed to this outcome, and update my way of doing things. As I left my mentor's office, the implication was clear. If I couldn't learn self accountability, I was not going to go very far. Complaining is not a solution. Facing reality is hard. It is much easier to blame things we have no control over than to look for our own contributions. Too often we fight against the feedback the world gives us to protect our beliefs. Rather than changing ourselves, we want the world to change. And if we don't have the power to change it, we do the only thing we feel we can do: complain. Complaining is not productive. It only misleads you into thinking that the world should function in a way that it doesn't. Distancing yourself from reality makes it harder to solve the problems you face. There is always something you can do today to make the future easier, though, and the moment you stop complaining is the moment you start finding it. You are not a victim. The most important story is the one you tell yourself. While telling yourself a positive story doesn't ensure a good outcome, telling yourself a negative story often guarantees a bad one. Each of us is the hero of the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. Being at fault when things go wrong doesn't suit the hero status we ascribe to ourselves. So, when it comes to explaining why things went wrong, we look for someone else to blame. While pointing fingers when we don't get the results we want might satisfy us in the moment. It doesn't give us better judgment, and it doesn't make us better people. It's instead a defensive reaction prompted by our ego default, a reaction that keeps us nestled in the arms of weakness and fragility. When you constantly blame circumstances, the environment, or other people, you are effectively claiming that you had little ability to affect the outcome. But that's not what actually happened. The truth is that we make repeated choices in life that become habits. Those habits determine our paths, and those paths determine our outcomes. When we explain away those unwanted outcomes, we absolve ourselves of any responsibility for producing them. There is a word for people who always respond to problems by blaming others or circumstances: victims. Of course, they are often not actually victims, they just feel like they are. And that feeling gets in the way of good judgment. Chronic victims feel helpless, powerless, and often hopeless. Nothing is ever their fault. It's always someone or something else that got in the way. No one begins life wanting to be a chronic victim, but the slow accumulation of responses That avoid responsibility makes it hard for people to see that's what they are becoming. Eventually, it is just who they are. There are points in the process of becoming a chronic victim when people realize they are lying to themselves. They realize the story they are telling themselves isn't quite true. They know they are responsible, but facing reality and taking responsibility is hard. It's uncomfortable. It's so much easier to hide and to blame other people's circumstances or luck. Thank you. That's it for the day.